Hi, welcome to the Bathtub. It's the old masturbator, Scott Bradfield. I'm gonna try to use this speaker a little better. So, it was too hot in here, so I opened the windows. It's gonna be a little. The ambient noise is kind of bad. I don't film these very well because I'm pretty useless. But I'm gonna use this. I'm trying to speak more clearly instead of mumble. I understand. Hard to follow. This is the 501st reading great books in the bathtub. I've done 501 of them with this. The last episode was the 500th episode. I didn't even mention it. It has no significance whatsoever in the history of the human race, and the only real significance is it shows that I have literally just too much free time. Too much free time, and I put it to bad use. Anyway, we've got lots of stuff we want to sort out today. Are you being a good dog, Lucky? She wants to come in, but I have the fence here. You can't really see it. I've told you the story of Lucky. If she lies next to your feet and you move, she attacks you. I mean, literally till you're bleeding. She just has all sorts of mental issues. This poor dog. So we have to kind of keep her in a safe space from us. Don't we, Lucky? Where did you go? I don't trust you at all. Anyway, Dodo's in the other room, and we're doing this. This is called. We do a series. We've done quite a few of these, and we'll probably do more. It's called Adventures in Bookshelf Management, which is how look at all the books on this. Just, I mean, if you've watched these episodes, like the 500, there's like 2 shelves up there 10 years ago, 9 years ago. More and more shelves. Everywhere I go, I got to shove more books into it. You know what it's like. I'm a hoarder. I'm beginning to realize I don't just have a nice library. I just can't give things away and get rid of them. Anyway, lots of things are happening at the bathtub. We're thinking, there's 2 things that I on my mind. One is we're thinking about moving and getting a smaller place and sort of just going on a little living adventure for various reasons. I love San Luis Obispo, and we may try to come back and forth between here and get into a small place somewhere. Anyway, we're thinking about doing something like that, and I've got to get rid of all this stuff. There's just too much stuff. I can't get rid. Of course, I want to keep most of it, but I've got to start making decisions. So that's what this episode's about. It's also called Death in the Bathtub. So there's 2 titles for this. I haven't decided which one. We'll probably use both. So Adventures in Bookshelf Management. How do we clear these shelves and what do we do with them? And then Death in the Bathtub, because, I'm 70 years old and the planet's not in very good shape and the country's a mess. And I get up every morning feeling okay, but I'm not going to be here forever. I know this comes as a shock to many of you. And what am I going to do with all these stupid books? I got to start winnowing them down. So preparing for death, that's a very positive outlook in the bathtub, and just managing your bookshelves. So lots of stuff I'm getting rid of, and I thought I'd talk about a couple of things. One, I was doing some science fiction reading. I read my old paperbacks, and I go back. This is the weird part of doing the old vintage SF paperbacks, is I read a lot of those old things I loved as a kid, and they're still pretty good. But some of them are great, and some of them just they're good, but they're just reading them is kind of a guilty pleasure. This is probably both. This is called Fawn by Piers Anthony. Isn't that? I just love these old Ballantine paperbacks. It's just a beautiful book. And look at them. They'd have all the old other books that came. You'd see these on the back, and I have to go buy those because they were such cool books. Anyway, this is a really weird space opera kind of drama about a guy. I just read about half of it. He has to go to a prison. I forget why he's going to the prison because he falls in love. He fell in love with what's her name? A mignonette. There's a lot of weird sex in Piers Anthony, by the way. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason I liked him when I was a teenager. But anyway, he goes off there, and it's kind of his adventures of going through the universe and trying to find this alien girl that he's in love with, and he has to go to a prison planet. And it's pretty well written. I read it as a kid, and I liked it. And I remember stuck in my mind. I always wanted to read it again. And I read it almost 2/3 of the way through this time, and I got a little bored, but it's still well written. It's interesting books. There's a lot of rape scenes in Piers Anthony. I don't want to talk just something weird about him. I remember reading a few of his books as a kid. Bio of a Space Tyrant. I think there was just constant rape scenes in it. Anyway, this has a couple weird rape scenes in it as well, and I don't know if that's not what entirely put me off. But anyway, so I'm going to talk a little about Piers Anthony. I'm going to get rid of all the Piers Anthony. I was going to just get rid of a few because I love all these old copies. They're so beautiful. And I have lots of his books. This is the sequel to Thawne. It's called Thor. And there was another one I really liked as a kid. The one Sauce the Rope. I don't know if I've got that here. When I was a kid, I remember reading Omnivore. Isn't that a beautiful, just a beautiful books. Just a beautiful book. And I read that as a kid. I couldn't put it down. I remember reading it like in an afternoon. And I reread it again a few years ago, and I didn't understand anything that was going on in it. Who knows? I don't have it here, but Sauce the Rope, SOS, is in my stack of books. I really liked Hassan when it came out. I read this when it was in Fantastic Magazine. It's a story from the Arabian Nights. And Piers Anthony, he had a really good way of telling stories, and they were kind of unusual and imaginative. And I read some of these as a kid. I can't remember. ESP Worm. Okay. Now, the books you guys all know him for, what most people know Piers Anthony for, is for the Zanth books. This is the first one, I think. That's the first one. It's the first edition of the first one, Source of Magic. And I read him mainly as a kid. And then when I was teaching, out at Kingston University. I was working in an MFA program there. And I worked with a few students, and I was always asking them what did they love as kids? What did they really enjoy reading? What gave them a lot of pleasure? And I talked to a bunch of kids who loved the Zanth books. And I remember I'd had that happen with me when I was at University of Connecticut as well. You always ask people what do they really like, and they don't say Hemingway and Fitzgerald. They remember the books that they loved as a kid, and they loved the Zanth books. And I'd always heard they were kind of silly, and I never read them. But I came up so often that when I was in my 50s, must have been in my 50s at least. I was teaching, and I decided on a holiday I would read. I read one of these, and I read Source of Magic, and I really enjoyed it. I remember taking it on holiday and having a good time. It seemed too long, and I think that's true of all of the Zanth books. They're very imaginative. They're not really children's books. There's lots of kind of there's lots of racy humor in them, and then there's lots of imagination about this world. And I can't remember too much about them. They're famous for having puns. They play lots of puns on people, and there's lots of characters that recur. Anyway, I read a lot of them. Over about 5 or 10 years, I read 1 or 2 of these a year. I really got a kick out of it. Dragon on a Pedestal is probably a late one. Here it is. It's called Battle. Okay, I'll show you that in a minute. So anyway, there was that. Cruel Lie. I'm pretty sure I read all of these. Castle Rugna I really liked. Center Isle. And Nightmare I liked. Anyway, I was up to this one. Gollum and the Gears, a new Zanth novel. What year would this? This came out in '86. But I was reading these about 10 years ago. And I've been waiting to read this for about 10. It's been on my stack of books, and I keep meaning to read it. The thing I find about a lot of these books, a lot of genre fiction anyway, is they have great stuff in them, and then it should go on too long. And I remember there's certain jokes that would kind of go on too long. Anyway, I've still, when I said to mind, I would read this. I have a lot of later Zanth books, and I just decided, life is short. I'm not going to read everything I want to read, and I think I've enjoyed these, and I'm going to pass these on. I'm going to sell them and get rid of them. This is a hard decision to get rid of stuff like this, but at the same time, I don't know if I read them anymore. I just don't know. Isle of View. There's always Isle of I Love You, Isle of View. There's lots of puns in a lot of the titles. Anyway, there were really interesting books. And Heaven Sent. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say. Battle Cry, Sauce the Rope. It's a weird cover. This is like some post-apocalyptic landscape where people have battles. And they each have a weapon. One guy has a rope, one has an axe, and whatever. Anyway, as a kid, I loved it. I was 14 or 15. I couldn't put it down. Macroscope. I remember this when it came out. I loved it. I don't remember much about it except they're traveling around the universe and lots of things happen to them, but I enjoyed that. Ogre. Okay, so I'm getting rid of those, not because they're bad, but I think they're good, and I just don't have any room anymore. He must have written a lot. He's written a lot of novels, lots of books. And I just decided I'd get rid of them all. I don't have room for everything anymore. and Center Aisle. That was pretty good. Okay, put these down here. And these, here's some other stuff I'm getting rid of. I'm clearing out of them. This could be just called clearing the shelves. I just sold this today, and I wanted to show it to you because I have a lot of books I have that are just beautiful, and I can't give them. I've kept them. A lot of love for books is just because of the beauty. This is Simenon's Pedigree. It's one of his most autobiographical books. It was published in English in 1962. This is a beautiful copy. I mean, look at that desk jacket. Isn't that gorgeous? I just sold it today. I'm going to ship it off. I got the paperback so I can read it. I just don't have room for them. I don't have the room for them, especially if we move to smaller places or if I die. I don't know when. Also, I think about these books sitting here, and I kick off. No one's going to know what they're going to. That's all going to end up in the bin. So anyway, I can't keep everything. What else am I getting rid of? I got a few other paperback science fiction. I've never read George O. Smith. Getting rid of a lot of science fiction. Getting rid of Pedigree. I'm getting rid of this. I just thought I'd tell you guys about it because sometimes on my Facebook page I write about CDs I watch. I've been watching the complete. These are my favorite CDs. I bought these when they came out. The Looney Tunes Golden Collection. They came out once a year. I'd get them for my son and I to watch. That's Volume 1. And it went up to Volume 6. Anyway, just so you know, the original Warner Brothers sets were really put on they're really faulty discs. And they all they're disintegrating. So every time I put these on, I can't play some of the cartoons in it. I bought these for my permanent lifetime library, and I've had to replace several of them, and I'm getting rid of all of these because even if they work now, they're not going to work much longer, I don't think. Anyway, just a warning, I looked online, it turns out a lot of the Warner Brothers DVDs sucked. Anyway, that pisses me off. What else did I'm getting rid of? I had something else. Oh, I know. This is Interzone. I had extra copies. This is one of my first short stories was in this. Isn't that a weird looking cover? Interzone, the British magazine. Maybe I'll show you this. I mean, it's not my first publication, but it was probably my first good story. The Flash Kid. The kid eats until he explodes. Anyway, it was kind of a cool magazine. I like the original Interzone. Fine. So again, I'm getting rid of books I like. I liked what I read of Piers Anthony. I've always wanted to read all POGO. I've been buying all of these big sets of the wonderful things that Fantagraphics does. We've talked about them before. And this is the complete POGO that they've been publishing over the past decade. This is Volume 1. Volume 2. I've got Volume 1 here. And Volume 5. And I think I told you already, I got rid of all my old Buck Wright, my Flash Gordons, which are beautiful books, but they're just so big. And these are just big and heavy. And I have not read POGO. See, there's the color. They're doing the color something. Beautiful books. I'm selling on eBay. Anyway, I hate to sell anything, but I just don't have room for everything. Okay, what else? Is there anything else I'm going to get rid of? I think that's it. Okay, so these books are going to be going out of the shelves pretty soon, and I've got one more of these things to do. 501 episodes, and they're all about like this, like they're literally a complete waste of time. So those are books I'm getting rid of. Okay, exciting new theme show. Bye.